Hello, hello, and welcome to another show of PolitiTalkRx right here on the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Today, we have an amazing guest all the way from Colorado coming to us to talk to us about an important issue. We have Representative Dylan Robertss of Colorado. Describe the bill so that our listeners understand what it is that's being done inside your bill specifically that you've had passed in Colorado.
So the bill that I introduced and it got passed and signed by the governor this year caps the monthly copay for insulin, regardless of how many types you need or the amount that you need, just your prescription for insulin. It caps it at $100 copay amount per month. As if people with diabetes or people who know about this issue know, before you reach your deductible, you could be paying anywhere from $600 to over $1,000 a month to get your monthly supply of insulin. And so that's a huge cost reduction immediately. So that's for anybody who has insurance not regulated by the federal government. So it doesn't apply to Medicare or Medicaid. Hopefully those would be cheaper than $100 anyway. But anybody with insurance, it's a $100 copay cap. That's the first part of the bill. That goes into effect on January 1st of this upcoming year. So about 3 months from now. And then the second part of the bill directs the Attorney General of Colorado to investigate insulin pricing and try to figure out what is going on systemically that is causing the prices to skyrocket. I mean, we all have suspicions of why, and maybe even more than suspicions, but I think having his legal team take a look at it, and then he has to, per the bill, prepare a report and deliver it back to the legislature next year to tell us what we should do next to address this issue. So obviously anybody who has type 1 diabetes or somebody in their family that has the disease, or even insulin dependent type 2 diabetes, will of course know the value of a bill like this. You know, they're the ones that are on the front lines paying the costs for this skyrocketing price of this drug. The people who don't, either they have heard about this issue at least a little bit, because I think it's a really good thing. The cost of insulin has become the poster child, I believe, for the rising cost of prescription drugs in general in the United States. Insulin is such an egregious example. You know, the price increases of 700, 800% in just 10 years. And then you combine that with considering insulin is such a relatively simple drug. It was developed back in the 1920s and was sold, the patent for it was sold for $1. And the actual quality of insulin hasn't changed at all since the mid 90s, but the price has gone up by, over 1,000%. And so it's easy to explain the problem through insulin of all prescription drug prices. Of course, there's going to be some people who say, well, this only affects a certain number of people. It shouldn't be a matter, that I care about or that you should care about. But so you'll deal with those types of detractors. But I think you just laid out the costs of diabetes and untreated care or lack of care. The cost that has on the whole society at large is pretty extensive. And so I think that gives another reason why this is something to concern ourselves with as a state legislature, and then hopefully as a national legislature in Congress.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you talked about the insulin being an example. And I think sometimes we have to step back at the 50,000-foot view and say, this is an example of what is exactly going on and how the markets are working. And there's no regulation to stop these issues from coming on. We have a lot of people that say basically, well, if you're eating donuts, then I shouldn't pay for that. And the fact is, believe it or not, you are. Just it's not coming out in the fashion that you think one for one. It's actually, you're paying probably twice the amount that you would if it actually came out in a fashion that was sufficient for all. And I don't want to get into the different systematic health plans, but just to kind of give some people perspectives, if you go to the hospital, you don't pay your bill, and it's a tax-paid hospital, taxes will pay for that bill. If you go to
or everybody's insurance prices will go up because of that.
Exactly. And then premiums go up. And that's the thing that people don't understand. 30% of the components of medical expenditures, when we talk about that $327 billion, are a part of that is your direct medical costs. So 237 of that 327 are direct medical costs. 30% of that 237 are from hospital inpatient care, directly associated with diabetes. So why would you have an inpatient care? Well, we have to understand that people are rationing their diabetes. The fact that the prescriptions are so expensive, but so are the hospital systems once you get there. So I think for when we talk about insurance companies, it's important they understand how clearly this would benefit them and their pockets on the long term. But you're right, like insulin was $10 back 15, 20 years ago, and it's now $1,000 a vial. It just
Right.
doesn't make sense. And
A big part of in this insulin conversation is happening in a lot of states now, which is incredible, and I'm so glad to see it. But a lot of the pushback of why laws or new regulations might be necessary is yeah, exactly what you say. You can go buy insulin for $25 at Walmart. Let me just say categorically to anybody listening, that is incredibly offensive and not the solution to this problem
I'm sorry,
for
I
anybody
didn't
who
hear
has
you
type
very
1
well.
diabetes.
Can you repeat that for the people in the back?
Yeah, so it's just incredibly ridiculous and offensive. The type of insulin that you can buy at Walmart is not the type of insulin that is healthy for a type 1 diabetic who has an insulin pump or is used to daily injections of insulin of a certain kind. Changing insulin like that on a dime's notice is so unhealthy for a type 1 diabetic because your body becomes used to regularity and used to that specific type of insulin or that specific brand of insulin. And just switching it because you couldn't afford insulin that month and you got the cheaper version or the different version at Walmart causes really bad health outcomes. And that's why it's offensive to tell somebody to go to Walmart. And I know there's people who are ignorant of those facts, and glad we have podcasts like this and ways to talk about it. We got to get the word out. That's not the solution to this problem. Walmart and Walmart insulin or insulin bought at a store like that serves a purpose, and it helps type 2 diabetics. It helps people's animals, pets have diabetes that need insulin. That's what that's for. That is not a long-term solution in any respect. So I just wanted to put that out there before.